Thank the gentleman. Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Chairman General Calvert.
That's right.
Thanks to the witnesses for being here.
Yes, okay, Private, go ahead.
The clock's still moving, Mr. Secretary. I want to express my severe concern with the deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles without consultation of the state of California. There have been photographs that have shown these troops sleeping on the floor and have not been provided fuel, food, or water by DoD. How long will this deployment last, and why were we unprepared to provide them basic necessities such as food and water?
What's going on, Patriots? Welcome back to the channel, your home for common sense, truth, and a whole lot of American grit. If you believe in God, country, and the Constitution, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell, because we are not staying silent. So Pete Hegseth just raised some serious red flags about what's happening in Los Angeles. The National Guard, our men and women in uniform, were deployed without even consulting California officials. Yeah, you heard that right. No heads up to the governor, no coordination, just boots on the ground.
The commanders and troops on the field are very well prepared, sir. They responded incredibly rapidly to a deteriorating situation with equipment and capabilities. We have made sure from the top down, as a Secretary of Defense who's been in a unit holding riot shields outside the White House during the chaos of the summer of 2020. I know what it's like to be immediately deployed into a situation like that. There are moments where you make do as best you can temporarily, but we are ensuring they're housed, fed, water capabilities in real time from my office, because I care that much about the California Guard and the Marines and the men and women who are supporting our ICE agents on the ground.
You should check
It's
with your
true
office.
every day, and that's a disingenuous attack that misrepresents how much we care about our troops
How
and
long
what
will
they're
the
doing to
deployment
defend ICE agents. I'm not going to take the fact that we don't care about the troops. Nobody cares more about the troops at the top than this Secretary and the Chairman and our
How long will
department.
the deployment last?
We stated very publicly that it's 60 days. Because we want to ensure that those rioters, looters, and thugs on the other side assaulting our police officers know that we're not going anywhere. We're here to maintain the peace on behalf of law enforcement officers in Los Angeles, which Gavin Newsom won't do.
What is the estimated cost of the deployment for the Guard and the Marines to LA, and where's this funding coming from? Will it be coming from quality of life programs that affect our service members or our families? If you want to wait till I finish
Before I hand it to
such as updates, housing and barracks.
Before I hand it to Bryn, the insinuation that we're pulling money from housing and barracks in order to fund this is disingenuous and incorrect.
I'm just asking.
Bryn can give you the numbers, absolutely.
So the current estimated cost is $134 million, which is largely just TDY costs, travel, housing, food, et cetera.
Where's it coming from? That's the cost, but where's it coming from?
Out of their O&M accounts.
With the most recent deployment of the Marines, Mr. Secretary, what's the justification for using the military for civilian law enforcement purposes in LA? Why are you sending war fighters to cities to interact with civilians?
Every American citizen deserves to live in a community that's safe, and ICE agents need to be able to do their job. They're being attacked for doing their job, which is deporting illegal criminals. That should happen in any city, Minneapolis or Los Angeles. And if they're attacked, that's lawless, and President Trump believes in law and order. So he has every authority, and he has done mobilizing National Guard or active duty troops under U.S. code to protect federal agents in their job, which is exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the President used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the President is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers, that's a problem.
The laws of the United States?
No,
That's
the governor of
pretty dangerous.
California is unable to
The code
execute the
says-
laws of the
code
United
says
States.
the president, you said
The
all three
governor
apply.
of the California has failed to protect his people along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines
The
are
law
proud to do
also
it.
says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states.
You and I both know that President Trump has all the authorities necessary, and thankfully he's willing to do it on behalf of the citizens of Los Angeles,
You
on behalf
also-
of our ICE agents, and behalf of our country.
We've also pulled $1 billion for the border as well, so this just goes into the same, fund, 134, what did
Congressman,
you
what's the-
indicate, 134 million? I was asking Ms. McDonald.
Okay.
134 million goes on top of the billion that's been pulled for the
So the
border.
funding that was pulled for this year was largely in FSRM, and in this budget, we're actually looking to plus that funding back up to backfill that for our troops and for their families.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Valadeo.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, General. Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for being here.
Now, you can love or hate Gavin Newsom, and I got my issues with the guy, but this is bigger than politics. This is about the Constitution and the proper use of power. Now, don't get me wrong, I back the blue. I support our troops. I believe in law and order. But when we start deploying federal troops on American soil to deal with civilians, even rioters, without following the proper chain of command, you bet I'm gonna raise an eyebrow. Pete brought up some key concerns. First off, the Guard reportedly didn't even have food and water. That is unacceptable. These are Americans in uniform. We send them into the chaos of LA and they're supposed to restore order on an empty stomach? Are you kidding me? And then the Secretary of Defense gets up there and says, "Oh, don't worry, they're well prepared. This was necessary to support law enforcement and keep the peace." Okay, but where's the oversight? Where's the state-federal cooperation? Last time I checked, we still had governors for a reason. The Secretary says the governor failed to uphold the law. Maybe. But that doesn't give the feds a blank check to come storming into American cities. We are not some banana republic. We have laws. We have rights. You want to deploy the Guard? Then follow the Constitution. Don't use it like a napkin. And let's talk money. This deployment, $134 million. That's taxpayer dollars. Your dollars. My dollars. Pete asked the right question. Where's this money coming from? Because if it's not coming from woke diversity training or bureaucrat bonuses, and it is cutting into housing, benefits, or pay for our service members, we've got a major problem. Look, Patriots, I want law and order. I want our streets safe. But I also want our freedoms. I want the federal government to respect the Constitution. You don't solve chaos with more chaos. You solve it with leadership. And that includes respecting state authority and supporting our troops the right way. If we don't speak up, who will? This isn't about left versus right anymore. This is about power versus the people. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. When the government skips the rules, skips the people, and skips the truth, we've got to say, not on our watch. Stay bold, stay free, and stay American. I'm out.